there is going to be some big changes. Hell, I know some of you guys already experienced some big changes. Most of you guys are experiencing. In fact, I would bet that every single one of you guys are experiencing some changes, and you've probably felt some shifts in this last week from a lot of things. Obviously, from where we're at in the world in terms of the pandemic, in terms of now the local fires, in terms of going back to school, schedule changes. Maybe you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you felt like you got a little bit more pressure on you right now. Maybe you're putting a little bit more pressure on yourself. Maybe you have more uncertainty because you just don't know what's going to happen next, when it's going to happen, in whatever capacity of what you have going on in life. Maybe you're feeling more overwhelmed on your plate internally, externally. Holidays coming up, holidays here now, what you can do on holidays, what you can't do, stuck in a fog, anxiety. Team, I hope I'm not stressing you out right now by saying some of these things. Because I'll tell you what, team, those are some of the things that I've definitely felt, especially in the last week. And it's been really important because I've had to ask myself a couple questions, and I want to ask you guys a couple questions for you to just to think about. You know, as we're making some big shifts right now in the world, as I said, of all those things, the first thing I have to ask is, am I ready? Is my energy levels ready for the new shifts that are happening, that are coming? Like, that's the biggest thing, is, are my energies level, are they ready? Are my energy levels right emotionally? Are they right mentally, physically, spiritually? Where's my gauge at right now? And am I practically setting myself up to take care of myself for when these new challenges arise? So those are the two biggest questions that I had to ask myself. Am I ready in those four categories, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually? And do I have those practical things set up? Is my strategy set? Because as we go into this next phase, team, that's really what it's all about. And you know, when we step back, I step back and look at the things that we have going on and the big shifts that we're all facing right now. And I think the big one is for most parents right now, kids going back to school. And even if your kids are older or you don't have kids, you're some way in shape affected by this. Schedule change by friends, coworkers. The dynamic is drastically different. And it's about making sure, as we're just trying to set so many of them up for success. Oftentimes when it comes to self-care, we jeopardize ourselves in the process. And why this was such a big one for me, and having the chance to connect with so many athletes through messages, through calls, through FaceTimes, through coaching, this has been one of the biggest things that a lot of people are struggling right now. They're struggling with that anxiety. They're struggling with taking care of themselves. They're struggling with just feeling charged up, and all these things are starting to pile on. And so if you're feeling like this, know this, you're not alone. This is normal. And this is extremely normal for leaders like yourselves. Everybody in our group, our tribe, the leaders that you are, this is extremely normal because you have a responsibility. Right, an internal responsibility. You have yourself as a leader to take care of people, to make sure you're doing the right thing, and to navigate the next step. What's the best next thing for your tribe, your team, your family, your kids, your community? And so oftentimes that brings on more pressure for you. And as we've talked about in the past, pressure is one of those things where it's a privilege. We're now faced with another opportunity where this pressure is a privilege. It's an amazing opportunity for us to elevate, to show our value, to put ourselves in a position for success, put our people in a position for success. But pressure brings pressure, and it causes anxiety and it causes stress. And it's about taking that time to step back and reassess those things. And that's really, team, what I want to share with you guys tonight. This whole month, and we're going to be sharing a lot of very simple things, practical ways that you can stay recharged, that you can stay aligned, that you can be fulfilled, that you can be focused, that you can be charged up. Because we talk about this all the time, there's so many people counting on you. And even the people you don't think are counting on you, they're counting on you. Even the people that you even have no idea that you think even are watching you, they're watching you. And that's not even to think about the ones that you are thinking about the most. Your friends, your family, your teammates, your coworkers, your community, where you're putting a lot of your energy into. And this is what I want for you. This is where I want, our entire team wants. We're going to really dive in hard this month of making sure that you are charged up, making sure that you are getting the self-care that you need so that you are playing at the potential and the optimal space that you need to be playing at for yourself first. And I know that's going to make a big impact in every single person else that you have a chance to lead or inspire in one way, shape, or form. And I just want to talk about, we hear this word self-care all the time, self-care, self-care. And to simplify it, right, it's any activity that you intentionally do to take care of those 4 categories: your mental, your physical, your emotional, and your spiritual health. Now, what's important is that I said it's that any activity, because it has to be practical based, you have to take an activity. It just can't be a theory. You can't say, oh man, sleep would be good, therefore I'm recharged. No, you've got to sleep. It's got to be an activity. But the key word is that you intentionally do to take care of yourself. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about understanding what you need to do. And a lot of times we can become so reactive, and we get irritated and we get mad. I need this, I need this, I need this. But I want us to take a step back. I want to empower you guys with the formula in which it sets us up to take those practical applications. And when we go back to it, when we talk about that 4A approach to self-care, and you guys have heard me talk about this in the past, and I'm going to read repetition is the greatest form of mastery. That's how things sink in. The 4A approach to self-care, and the first one is awareness. We just need to understand where we're at right now. We need to understand if we're a funk. We need to understand if things aren't going well. We need to understand if we're stressed out. And when we have awareness, we need to make sure that there's no judgment or guilt in the process. We need to not feel like a shitty mom or a shitty dad, or we should be doing more, oh my gosh, why aren't I this, that, or the other from work standpoint. We need to just be aware and understand where we're at. And the most important thing is we can kind of look at that from an objective standpoint, not a subjective standpoint. This one is not a big one to let your emotions be in control. It's try just to look at the facts. And we look at something simple when it comes to, let's just say, measuring from a health standpoint, looking at your body fat, looking at your weight, measuring something simple like that. It's objective, right? You don't need to attach any story to it or put any emotion to it or bring some bit of subjectivity into it. Well, this, that, or the other. It's just the facts. So we want to bring a level of awareness to any aspect of those 4 categories that we feel that we're struggling with. The second thing is we want to assess. We want to assess what's going really well right now. Anytime that we get in a funk, we compromise a little bit of self-care. We focus so much on what needs work, what our weaknesses are. But let's shift. In the assessment phase, let's focus on what's really going well. That's called perspective. Don't just focus on the problems. We want to have perspective. Perspective is understanding, hey, some things are good, some things could use work. Where am I at? Reality lies somewhere in between. So let me assess the situation. Where am I falling short? Where are some of the things that I can start doing a little bit better? And let me just assess those again with no guilt, no judgment, no shame, and just assess those as third party as possible and objectively. The third thing is to adapt. And when it comes to adapt, it's about a game plan. Put a new game plan in place. I'm going to share with you guys my game plan for this past weekend. And I'm going to share with you a little story about how Friday, I really hit a wall where I was running on fumes, and I had to re-strategize. I had to put a game plan in place, and I really want to share this with you guys because oftentimes when we're coaching, we often think that coaches don't go through the same struggles that athletes do or clients do, and believe me, we do. And so that's where we have to adapt. We got to put a new game plan based on our current situation and our ideal goal of what we're trying to get to. And in that process, when we adapting means you got to break the script. Adapting means you definitely got to do something different than you're previously doing, because you're going to have the same results if you just do the same thing over and over and over again. So we got to see what's working for us, what's not working for us. And I'll guarantee you this for everybody. What worked for everybody for the last 3 months, for everything in their life, is I would bet the farm that it's not going to work for the next 3 months. Life is going to be drastically different, and I want us to just get prepared for that. I want us to have the mentality to be ready for that. And being ready for that is getting yourself ready, charging yourself up. And that's really where I'm going so deep with this tonight. And the last A is act. And act is, what are you willing to commit to? What are you willing to sacrifice? And that sacrifice is, what are you willing to say no to? So it's, for me, act, when I look at this, is what am I willing to commit to? What am I willing to sacrifice and say no to? Both those are big actions. And it's the second one is always the hardest one. It's always the hardest one from that action standpoint, because saying no to people is the toughest one. So I just want to go back. I want to regroup. I want to set the tone on, they'll form that 4A approach to setting ourselves up for self-care. And I want to share with you guys a little bit where I was at the end of the week. And I want to be very transparent and very honest, as you guys know that I'm always going to be with you guys each week when things are going well, when I'm struggling with something, because I want there to be that's just the reality. There's no just perfect sunshine, rainbows. And I was struggling. At the end of last week, I was really running on fumes. I was hitting a wall. I was getting tired. I was doing a lot of things that were just taking way more effort for me to do, whether that was getting up early in the morning or getting my workouts. And it was tough. I was just fighting, and I had so much of an energy overload. And I felt many of the things that I explained at the start of this talk. I felt a high level of anxiety. I felt a high level of pressure. I felt a high level of feeling overwhelmed, schedule changes, my daughter figuring out the school situation, what that's gonna look like, and how there's gonna be a shift and transition, and a lot of stuff as I know that you guys can all relate to. And I was really hitting that wall. And Friday I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out and I gotta do something different. And I said, I wanted to go out and I gotta work out. And I came home with the intention, okay, I'm gonna work out. And then another obstacle hit, and I'm stuck right on the way home with 2.5 hours of traffic. And I'm like, you know when something happens and like it starts to boil more and more and more and more, and you just feel like you just can't, like it's another thing and another thing, and it's just poking at you. And that's how I felt on Friday. Like Friday afternoon, it just was poking at me. And I had this decision. I said, you could just call it a day, or you can just you gotta change things up. You gotta the only way that you can break this funk right now is if you break the script completely. And so I remember I rushed home and I grabbed some weights. I just ran in my house and I told my wife, I said, hey, I really need this alone time right now. I gotta recharge or else I'm no good to anybody. And she knows when I say that it's like serious. And so I grabbed my weights and I went to, for me, I want to go to inspiring places. So environments that inspire me. And I'm going to talk about the 10 things that I did this weekend that were really important for my self-care. And so I went to a football field. And for me, it's a lot of aspects. When I go to the football field, it brings back a lot of memories. It brings back a lot of like passion for me, playing football my entire life. The smell of the grass, it was huge. It just brings back a lot of childhood memories, and it's very nostalgic for me. Those things. Football field, grass. So I'm thinking, okay, good. I know I'm gonna be like 20 minutes late to this workout on Friday, and it's one that Coach Reese and Pam are coaching. And so I get there, and the school's closed. So again, we got another obstacle. So you can imagine my like annoyance meter is, my temper is getting worse and worse and worse. I jumped 3 fences. I'm like throwing equipment over, jumping a fence. This poor homeless lady, God bless her soul, I'm sending her so much love and energy right now because I know that she must be going through a tough time of whatever it is. She's screaming at me. I don't know what she's screaming at. She's just screaming at me for something. And I'm jumping these 3 fences over and over. It literally felt like a video game. Like, dude, this is another obstacle. And I remember getting into that workout like, oh my God, I made it. Like I made it. Like I pressed the live, I had my stuff, I was in it. And there's one big thing that popped into my head when that happened. I was like, first thing was empathy. I thought to myself, holy shit. I bet there's so many situations where this is exactly what it's like for so many of our athletes every single day, where it is just a straight up fight to get there, like tooth and nail just to make it happen. And immediately, and I want to take this moment to honor you right now and all of our athletes who will watch this, because I know, I'm sure it's not always like that every single day, but those days where you're just like, you're fighting, and the other voice inside your head says, just don't do it today, and you still do it. I know how hard that is. And it was such a massive empathy for me. For all of you guys, for the commitment and the hard work that you do. The second thing was the massive amount of love and support, that it was so amazing to have that from the coaches and be in there and just feel their energy and feel their positivity and their positive affirmations. That was so huge, Because sometimes we know there would have been one thing, I would have been like, if they would have been gotten on me, I would have been like, I'm out of here. Because there's so many obstacles that we have to face at times to get to certain things that light us up. And first thing, I just really want to honor you guys because that was such a huge thing. And I rarely have days like that. I rarely have days that are at that level. Days that there's obstacles for sure. But you all know what I'm talking about when you have just the boiling points. And this was a big one for me. This week was a big one for me, to be honest with you, team. Where I needed some real big recharge time for myself, for my mindset, that I really hadn't taken it in a good 6 months of just being really connected to myself. So I want to share with you guys. The 10 things that I did this week, and some of these may strike mood. Some of them are very universal, so it's not just so personal for me, but there's a lesson. There's things that are very specific and universal that everybody can apply and help shift. And this month, we're going to be sharing a lot of these things. We're going to share a lot of very simple and practical ways that you're going to be able to shift your state completely, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, to help keep you recharged. That is my biggest and number one focus for myself and for everybody, is let's get on board for a massive, massive month of self-care. And I know you guys are with me for that one. Taking care of yourself, being charged up. And the first thing was I scheduled, from that Friday, I scheduled the personal time, my personal self-care time from Friday to Sunday. I scheduled it the whole week, and everything I knew that I was gonna do was scheduled my self-care, and I was fine with everything else around it. So number one, I'm gonna encourage you guys, you gotta schedule it. And these apply to every single bucket. Schedule. So going into next week, schedule your self-care time and write down. So if it says working out, don't just write, hey, working out. Right next to working out, self-care. And treat that as such a sacred time, as a time of uninterruption, as an intolerable time that you're not gonna have anybody like take that from you. It's gonna be your time, no distractions, no interruptions. For me, that's what training is. Training for me is church. It's therapy. Like I need it, and most of the time I need it like as an athlete like you guys. I need to be coached in class. I need to train solo, but I need it. It's so powerful for me. It helps reconnect me to me every single day. The second thing is when you set that personal time, it's really important to share that with your friends or family, what you need, how you're feeling, and how they could support you. One of the biggest mistakes that I used to often face, one of the biggest mistakes, I would say the biggest one probably, was that I didn't share what I needed or what I was going through with my personal friends or family and my wife, and I would just like have this, I just need to do this, and it was reactive. But it's so important to communicate to the people that in your closest circle that you're gonna spend the most time with. Say, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. I really need this right now because I'm gonna be a much better friend, wife, husband, father, brother, sister, teammate. Sharing that with people gives them a chance to support you, and you set that communication expectation on the front end, and it makes a massive difference. I promise you, they will support you, because if they're your real tribe, if they're real ones, they want you to be happy and they want you to take care of themselves. If they're not real ones, they're going to sabotage you. So remember that as well. Third thing, take a guilt-free nap. A guilt-free nap. That's one of the hardest things for me to do sometimes when I'll take naps, but the guilt is like, I should be doing this, I could have been doing this, I could have been writing this up, I could have been saying this out, I could have been, I'm at home, I could have been doing something with Bella, I could have been fixing something outside, this needs work, why didn't I put my clothes away, I could have cleaned, it's all the aspects. Guilt-free, rare, it's very rare to have a guilt-free nap, but I see, I'll just say, you know what, I'm gonna take a nap. I told the family, at this time, I'm gonna take a nap. So everybody knew, I'm gonna take a nap at this time. I got one of the best, it was a 90 minutes, so you either want to nap for 20 minutes or you want to go for a good 90 minutes. That's kind of the mark of your napping cycles. I went for the 90, and I just conked out, and I felt recharged, and I felt great afterwards. But it wasn't the sleep so much. It was the fact that I went in with the intention that I'm doing this for me, I'm recharging, and it's okay. All that other shit can wait. But I'm gonna take care of me right now. Guilt-free nap, one of the best things you can do. Fourth thing, laugh. And sometimes you may say, I don't find anything funny right now, or I'm not a comedian. one of the biggest things, what probably brings you the most joy and laughter is watching older movies. So this weekend, we're big on watching movies from my childhood. And this weekend we watched, and I haven't seen this movie probably since I was Bella's age. Or even maybe a little older, 8 or 9 years old, Back to the Future. And we watched Back to the Future, and I remember sitting there, I'm watching it like I'm a kid. I'm watching it like I'm 7 years old. But I probably haven't seen it in 30 years. And it was so powerful, something simple like that. As a family, sit there, watch an old classic movie, and just smile, and just laugh, and truly be charged up. So that is a big one. Whether that may be an old TV show that you watch or a comedy special, do something that just breaks the script. YouTube something. Maybe you just read some dad jokes. Find something that makes you laugh. The fifth thing, as I talked about before, as I went to a space that inspired me, the football field, smell the grass, nostalgia again. When I smell grass, it just puts me. It's like chocolate chip cookies for me. It's a home feeling. It makes me feel relaxed. The sixth thing, and this is huge, team. When you're feeling in that space, when you feeling like you really got to charge yourself, work out with massive intensity. I mean, you got to get that ish out of your system too. And sometimes the best way to do that is just to sweat it out in the biggest possible way. So I had that heart rate on, coaches were calling it out, and I was pushing. And that feeling of euphoria after you've pushed yourself so hard, you feel so damn alive, is absolutely game-changing to shift your state. Game-changing to shift your state. You gotta sweat that shit out, as I say. You gotta sweat it out. You feeling that type of way, get it out, push yourself. And you know that feeling where you just, oftentimes you say, I was dying at the end of that workout. That's living. Heart rate is breathing, breath is high. That is the ultimate form of living. Number 7, y'all might be able to tell from my face right now, he's got a lot of vitamin D. Now, there's a lot of research and studies that show that vitamin D has getting some sun has a massive impact on your mood shift. And it definitely, I was out from Friday, Saturday, today. I'll be outside again tomorrow. Spent a lot of time outside. Getting some sun, recharging. Like I truly feel recharged in such a big, powerful way because it's the intention. It wasn't just being outside, it's hot. I'm intentionally outside and I want to soak up that energy. I want to soak up that vitamin D. I want to soak up that sunshine. And I'll tell you what, it makes a hugest thing. Don't get stuck indoors. Even if you can get outside just for a little bit. Don't get so much stuck indoors, on the screen all the time. Number 8, big one. This is one of the biggest ones that shifts my energy and state, is getting in touch with nature. And it's a practice called Shinrinyoku. It's a Japanese term that means forest bathing. You guys have heard me talk about this before. And when I need a real big energy cleanse, some forest bathing, I go to my favorite places in the world, Nicene Marks. And why I love Nicene Marks down in Aptos is because the second you get into the park, your phone is dead. Like there's no service at all. So there's no time to be out there messing around on your phone, going for a walk, texting. The whole point is to be absorbed in nature, underneath the canopies of the trees, and just get rid of all the external noise and start tapping into that internal voice. And it was so powerful today. Went on a nice 8-mile run and hike with Kaylee, and I'm very sensitive about who I'm with in certain energy environments like that as well. And it was so important, as that became number also 9 for me. Surround yourself with positive people. So getting into an environment that is so energetically recharging, and being in not just these environments like that, but in your environments right now of extremely supportive individuals. And like I said, I'm not sure if y'all saw a post I made. It's not about people who need to give you a life lesson, who need to tell you to, oh, come on, feel better, or give you any type of theory. Sometimes the best coaching and the best support is just to say, hey, I know you're going through a tough go right now. I'm here to support you any way that I can. Like that's oftentimes the best way we can support people. So many times we feel that we need to oh, I need to give this person the right answer. I need to tell them something profound to make them completely be in a different state. Sometimes saying nothing and saying, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I validate everything you're going through, and I'm here to support you, is the best thing that you can do for somebody. And all of you who have felt or have ever felt in a funk, which everyone has, know that that's probably the most profound and powerful thing someone can say to you. Because oftentimes you're not there to listen to a lesson. We know what we should do or how we should be feeling, but these are what I'm sharing with you are some practical ways to start to break that. And that aspect of validation is probably one of the greatest forms of true empathy and respect that you can give to another individual. Not trying to teach them something, just honor them, just validate them when they're in that space and show them that you support them with whatever they need. And if they have that emotional awareness, which is what we're trying to go through, which we're trying to build up, right? We're trying to build that emotional awareness muscle so that we are able to share that with people a little bit more effectively. And the last thing for me was really the shock. I've only taken cold showers this weekend, and I've jumped in the ocean probably about 5 times. And that's the shock. So if you don't have an ocean around you, then the cold showers will do it. So I'm doing a mix of both. Because it's all about that shock, it's all about that wake up that we need. And so team, those were 10 things. 10 things that I wanted to share with you that I went through this weekend. And I think it's really important for me in my process as a leader to be very transparent, to be very raw with you and real with you guys when I'm saying, hey, look I was going through a tough go this last week. And now, don't get me wrong, I had to show up, I had to bring it, but this is what I did. These are the 10 things that I did in the 3 days that really completely shifted my mindset, my attitude, my energy from where I was at 2 days ago, really. And what I'm really excited about, we do a lot of exercises, push-ups and sit-ups and squats and burpees and hundreds and a lot of these things. And these are all extremely important and those aid in the physical aspect. But I'm really excited to dive deep this month on giving us the practical and simple things that we can do to enhance all aspects of self-care, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. And so many times in the fitness space, it just becomes so much about the physical. And you can't just outwork it all the time. Like the outworking part was good, but if you don't have those conversations and understand what's going on internally and provide the other right aspects from a spiritual standpoint, mental standpoint, emotional standpoint, then you're just gonna get exhausted with that level of intensity. I couldn't just outwork this thing for a couple days. There's got to be different levels of conditioning in the mix.